Listen up, Rangers. Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve, and today I'll be doing a solo review on him. Yeah, Burning? What are you doing? I'm doing a review right now, since got nothing else to do. Don't you usually do these things with Arnes? Well, yeah, but he's kind of had some conflicting issues with work schedule with mine as well, so he wasn't really able to get over here, so I just decided to do one on my own. But you always do these things with Arnes. Well, yeah, I can't really do it if he's not actually here, so I've just decided to do one on my own. Are you going rogue? What do you mean? What? He's going rogue! He's going rogue! He's going rogue! I gotta go tell Arnes and... How do you open the door? So, that was different. But today, instead of doing an anime, I'm gonna do something a little bit differently because on Crunchyroll, I actually started watching the TV show Ultraman X. Pretty much at the beginning of the TV show, Ultraman is fighting this bad guy, not sure who exactly, but there's a bad guy, and knocks him into the sun, causing these things called Ultra Flares. Which what these Ultra Flares end up doing is awakening these things on Earth called Spark Dolls, which are kind of like old Bandai toys that become giant monsters, and also make Daishi, our main protagonist, and who eventually becomes Ultraman, into an orphan at a young age because it kind of sucks his parents into an alternate dimension, at least I think anyways is how this is going. But because of the Spark Dolls, giant monsters, aliens, you name it, they make this organization called ZAO, which is kind of like your pseudo Power Ranger kind of organization, where they have a group of individuals that are there to stop the alien threats, which they use normal vehicles, except they kind of modify them to make them look cooler. And also they have where they can combine with this jet, so you can sell toys, because that's awesome. But still, it's pretty neat how they do it in the TV show. And they use these things to actually combat the Kaiju menace. But this doesn't really quite work as well with the first confrontation that they have with this monster named Damaga, which is a giant Godzilla-bladed kaiju, which actually looks pretty cool. It's an awesome introduction into the TV show using this monster. And at the middle part of the episode, when bad things are about to happen to Daichi, Ultraman actually saves him by kind of merging or uniting, is the keyword that they use in the TV show, in order to make Ultraman X. And then they use Ultraman X to fight these kaijus, and then they also give Ultraman X armor, which is awesome. Also very reminiscent of Gridman. And essentially, to get right into this review, I actually sort of like this TV show at the moment. For the most part, it's really goofy, really out there for the most part, because originally when I've only seen a few of the actual Ultraman TV shows, where I've seen most of Tiga, the original Ultraman series, and also Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, or as you may know if you're an Ultraman fan, is Gridman. And also some of the episodes from Ultraman Towards the Future. And this is a weird one to get into, at least for me, because the organization is pretty much a common thing throughout a lot of these Ultraman series. But it's very reminiscent of what I remember from Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, where they actually have like the vehicles that can combine together to make pretty much even more badass vehicles. And also using the powers of like the kaijus, which isn't quite the same, I guess. Where he actually gets the armor that makes him souped up, and it has a little bit of differentiation between each of the armors that he gets, which is actually really cool. And it's a nice little throwback to previous series, while also still kind of updating the show as it goes along. First I'm going to primarily talk about the outfits, which I've watched the first 4 episodes right now. Which, for the first episode, I really like the kaiju. Damaga is actually a really cool looking monster. Ultraman actually looks really awesome. Also, kind of very inspiring of Gridman as well for me. But I really do love the aesthetics. He's a very colorful Ultraman, which is something that's pretty awesome. But after this first episode, it kind of starts wavering a little bit for me in terms of the suits, because personally, I really don't like the monster in the second one. It's a giant bird monster. It has like sacks hanging off its face. Which, if I remember, I think his name was Burdone. But it's a stupid looking monster. And then for the third one, there's Pterodon. I think that's how you said his name. Where he's a giant like underground monster where he burrows up and shoots hot fire everywhere. And he's actually a pretty cool monster. And then for the fourth episode, you have Zarab and Bemstar. Which overall, I like Zarab. Bemstar is a weird looking monster thing where it has like little hook hands and it's kind of in the shape of a starfish, which is like, But he also sucks things in with his tummy, which is actually pretty cool. And I lied, I seen the 5th episode too, where you have him fighting Black King and Bandero, who's like a more outlaw alien thing, where he's like an arms dealer of sorts. And I like that each episode there's a wide variety of monsters. I might not like the suits in particular in certain episodes. Like, for the most part, I pretty much like every odd episode right now with 1, 3, and 5. I think the kaijus look really cool in those ones. While in the second and the fourth one, it's a little bit more of a fail in my opinion. But the variety is there, and I do appreciate them still trying to go pretty much in the left field for kaiju ideas. And what's also really cool is they also bring back some older kaijus, which I'm not 100% sure which series they are actually from. But you have Ella King, Gamora shows up, which they actually use their like little spark dolls and the cars that they make to actually make the armor for Ultraman, which actually I think is an awesome idea. Even though it's weird to have, even though they call them spark dolls, they look like Bandai toys. Pretty sure they're Bandai toys. I'm gonna say they're Bandai toys. They just literally just walking around toys all over the place and just using them with their pseudo Ultraman morpher in order to get the powers and whatnot. Which I think is cool. It's something that's a little bit different than what I've seen in pretty much all the other Ultramans I've seen, which is pretty sweet. Which kind of brings me back to Gridman, where they use a lot of like the terms data, where he's actually stored inside of his little morpher communication device that he got from Zeo. Which I do think is pretty cool, especially like there's a lot of nice dialogue in the episodes between Daishi and Ultraman X, which I think is actually really cool and pretty interesting in my opinion. Which for most of the series I've seen, I don't really remember him quite communicating at least nearly as frequently as he does in this TV show and with Ultraman X, and the previous ones I've seen with like Gridman, Ultraman Tiga, and the original. I might have done it in some of the other ones, but I haven't quite seen him yet, so I can't really hold merit to that. I've seen like a few bits and piece episodes for certain Ultramans, but those ones are the ones I've seen a lot more of the show, so I can kind of base it off those. And for the most part, I enjoy the plot. It's pretty much your standard Saturday morning cartoon fare, in my opinion, where the plots are a little bit cheesy. It's more just pretty much new kaiju of the week as of right now. There's not really an overarching story, at least that I've seen in these early 5 episodes. But the story works. It's pretty much very reminiscent of a lot of the other Ultramans that I've seen, so it's nothing that it's really left field for me. Like, I knew what I was getting into when I was getting into this TV show. It's very much in the same vein as a lot of the older Godzilla movies, or I guess even some of the newer Millennium series, where the overarching plot for the TV show is still there, because pretty much it's just him trying to figure out what happened to his parents, and then it's just new monsters pretty much showing up for each of the new episodes, and kind of trying to pieces together a little bit with the last episode I seen, episode 5, kind of helping to tie that in a little bit more. But the one thing that just for this TV show is a lot of the characters are kind of annoying in my opinion, because I don't know, it's hard to say, because I already knew going into it this isn't going to be super serious, because again I bring up the whole Saturday morning cartooning thing. But with a lot of newer shows, I imagine it'd be a little bit smarter. Like even you watch like some of the newer Power Rangers stuff, where a lot of the characters can be stereotypical, but there's still a lot of coolness with a lot of these characters. While watching Ultraman X, there's a few characters I'm just like, just get them off the screen. Like primarily the scientists kind of are a little, kind of like a Pacific Rim. But at least the Pacific Rim, they're funny. Well, these ones just kind of like, they're pretty grating. Especially since they're like super stereotypical of like the girl being like, kawaii! And they're like, oh, they're so cute, and giant monsters, and now she cotton candy gun. And they're just pretty much your standard nerdy people. Even the doctor, which I actually think it's cool that they introduce aliens actually into the show, where they have them actually like helping out and stuff. Like that's actually cool, and they also combat other aliens, which is I've seen it in other Ultraman shows, but it's just pretty cool to see it early on, especially. Also, you already got it in episode 5. They had a crossover of Ultraman Zero, which is awesome. Wasn't something I was expecting, especially to see this early on. But I still love that they actually are including other Ultramans from other shows into this one, and I hope to see a lot more of them throughout the rest of the show, because they do use this in a lot of other Ultramans that I know of, but it's something I just was expecting something early on, especially when you watch like the intro credits and how they're doing the armor thing. I imagine they would have got a little bit more into the armor scheme before they would have started introducing new characters, especially good guys, but I still enjoy, especially since they actually use Ultraman Zero in a card where you can go into space and help save the annoying scientist girl. But a lot of the other characters are still suitable. Again, very stereotypical for this kind of TV show, except for the main character is a little bit on the more dorky side and not a very confident individual, and also just not very good at fighting. But it's kind of cool to see when he actually becomes Ultraman, he can actually kick butt. Which, especially for the kick butt part, the choreographed fight scenes in this freaking TV show are awesome. I actually really get a thrill out of the fights, which is probably the best thing about this TV show is right now, is the giant, and pretty much why you're watching the show anyways, is watch Ultraman fight giant monsters, and it is freaking awesome. The fights actually have a decent amount of speed to them, where they do kind of like speed up and slow down, kind of reminiscent of Godzilla Raids again, but it still actually works very well for it, because especially with these fight scenes, and I imagine even like if you're in a reference of them being in a large scale, it's gonna fight just kind of like how normal people would be fighting. And I really like to see the more speed up edge that they're giving to this actual combat. But I do like how they have the combat actually at normal speed, so when he's actually hitting, it actually just feels like he's actually getting hits, and it just has a nice heft to it whenever he's actually performing moves and whatnot. And even for the CGI in this, it's not bad. It's definitely more suitable towards like 2000 Godzilla special effects, but it still works really well for these kind of TV shows, especially for, mainly this is what I would consider more geared towards kids, especially with all the toys being used in the actual show and everything just kind of working together, even like the Morpher. It's pretty much a lot of stuff to sell action figures. But a lot of this ties in really nicely together for a lot of awesome fights with giant kaiju. And so far, that's definitely the high point of the TV show, and something that hasn't gotten boring or stale as of yet. Because pretty much every new episode, I just can't wait for Ultraman to go kick the crap out of monsters. Ugh. But the fight scenes are awesome, the monsters are cool, the plot's okay, and some of the characters I wish I could get behind a little bit more, but eh. But for the most part, a lot of the more main characters you see in a lot of the episodes are definitely a lot more watchable, so it's only some of the side characters kind of annoy the crap out of me, but since I don't have to deal with them all the time, it's acceptable. And in the end, if you guys love Ultraman and love giant monster fighting, I would definitely recommend watching Ultraman X, especially since they do a lot of old throwbacks to the old Ultraman series, which is awesome. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below if you guys have seen Ultraman X and what you guys thought about that TV show. Help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a ranger today, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.